Hello. Okay, it's time for Chapter 8. Pippi entertains two burglars. After Pippi's performance at the circus, there was not a single person in all the little town who did not know how strong she was. There was even a piece about her in the paper. But people who lived in other places, of course, didn't know who Pippi was. One dark autumn evening, two tramps came walking down the road past Villa Villacula. Were two bad thieves wandering about the countryside to see what they could steal. They saw that there was a light in the window of Villa Villacula and decided to go in and ask for a sandwich. That evening, Pippi had poured out all her gold pieces on the kitchen floor and sat there counting them. To be sure, she couldn't count very well, but she did it now and then anyway, just to keep everything in order. 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 60, 10, 60, 11, 60, 12, 60, 13, 60, 16. Whew, makes my throat feel like 60. Goodness, there must be some more numbers in the arithmetic. Oh, yes, I remember. 104, 1,000. That certainly is a lot of money, said Pippi. There was a loud knock on the door. Walk in or stay out, whichever you choose, shouted Pippi. I never force anyone against his will. The door opened and the two tramps came in. You can imagine that they opened their eyes when they saw a little red-haired girl sitting all alone on the floor, counting money. Are you all alone at home? They asked craftily. Of course not, said Pippi. Mr. Nielsen is at home, too. The thieves couldn't very well know that Mr. Nielsen was a monkey, sleeping in a little green bed with a doll's quilt around his stomach. They thought the man of the house must be named Mr. Nielsen, and they winked at each other. We can come back a little later, is what they meant. But to Pippi they said, we just came in to ask what your clock is. They were so excited that they had forgotten all about the sandwich. Great strong man who don't know what a clock is, said Pippi. Where in the world were you brought up? The clock is a little round thingamajig that says tick tack, and that goes and goes but never gets to the door. Do you know any more riddles? Out with them if you do, said Pippi encouragingly. The tramps thought Pippi was too little to tell time, so without another word they went out again. I don't demand that you say tack, thanks in Swedish, shouted Pippi after them, but you could at least make an effort and say tick. You haven't even as much sense as a clock has. But by all means, go in peace, and Pippi went back to her counting. No sooner were the tramps outside than they began to rub their hands with delight. Did you see all that money? Heavenly day, said one of them. Yes, once in a while luck is with us, said the other. All we need to do is wait until the kid and that Nielsen are asleep. Then we'll sneak in and grab the dough. They sat down under an oak tree in the garden to wait. Drizzling rain was falling. They were very hungry, so they were quite uncomfortable. But the thought of all that money kept their spirits up. From time to time, lights went out in other houses, but in Villa Villacula they shone on. It so happened that Pippi was learning to dance the Shotska, and she didn't want to go to bed until she was sure she could do it. At last, however, the lights went out in the windows of Villa Villacula, too. The tramps waited quite a while until they were sure Mr. Nielsen would have gone to sleep. At last they crept quietly up to the kitchen door and prepared to open it with their burglar tools. Meanwhile, one of them, his name as a matter of fact was Bloom, just happened to feel the doorknob. The door wasn't locked. Well, some people are smart, he whispered to his companion. The door is open. So much for us, answered his companion, a black-haired man called Thunder Carlson, by those who knew him. Thunder Carlson turned on his pocket flashlight, and they crept into the kitchen. There was no one there. In the next room was Pippi's bed, and there also stood Mr. Nielsen's little doll bed. Thunder Carlson opened the door and looked around carefully. Everything was quiet as he played his flashlight around the room. When the light touched Pippi's bed, the two tramps were amazed to see nothing but a pair of feet on the pillow. Pippi, as usual, had her head under the covers at the foot of the bed. That must be the girl, whispered Thunder Carlson to Bloom, and no doubt she sleeps soundly, but where in the world is Nielsen, do you suppose? Mr. Nielsen, if you please, came Pippi's calm voice from under the covers. Mr. Nielsen is in the little green doll bed. The tramps were so startled that they almost rushed out all at once, but then it suddenly dawned on them what Pippi had said, that Mr. Nielsen was lying in a doll's bed. And now, in the light of the flashlight, they could see the little bed and the tiny monkey lying in it. Thunder Carlson couldn't help laughing. Bloom, he said, Mr. Nielsen is a monkey. Can you beat that? Well, what did you think he was? Came Pippi's calm voice from under the covers again. A lawnmower? Aren't your mother and father at home? Asked Bloom. Nope, said Pippi. They're gone. Completely gone. Thunder Carlson and Bloom chuckled with delight. Listen, little girls, said Thunder Carlson, come out so we can talk to you. No, I'm sleeping, said Pippi. Is it more riddles you want? If so, answer this one. What is it that goes and never gets to the door? Now Bloom went over and pulled the covers off Pippi. Can you dance the Shotska? Asked Pippi, looking him gravely in the eye. I can. You ask too many questions, said Thunder Carlson. Can we ask you a few too? Where, for instance, is the money you had on the floor a little while ago? In the suitcase on top of the wardrobe, answered Pippi truthfully. Thunder Carlson and Bloom grinned. I hope you don't have anything against our taking it, little friend, said Thunder Carlson. Certainly not, said Pippi. Of course I don't. Whereupon Bloom lifted down the suitcase. I think I have a suitcase. Let's see. I do. Bloom had no idea how it had happened, but suddenly the suitcase was in Pippi's hand. Here, quit your fooling, said Thunder Carlson angrily. Hand over the suitcase. He took Pippi firmly by the hand and tried to snatch back the booty. Fooling, fooling, too much fooling, said Pippi, and lifted Thunder Carlson up on the wardrobe. A moment later, she had Bloom up there, too. Then the tramps were frightened. They began to see that Pippi was no ordinary girl. However, the suitcase tempted them so much they forgot their fright. Come on now, both together, yelled Thunder Carlson, and they jumped down from the wardrobe and threw themselves on Pippi, who had the suitcase in her hand. Pippi gave each one a little poke with her finger, and they shrank away into a corner. Before they had a chance to get up again, Pippi had fetched a rope and, quick as a flash, had bound the arms and legs of the burglars. Now they sang a different tune. Please, please, miss, begged Thunder Carlson, forgive us. We were only joking. Don't hurt us. We're just two tramps who came in to ask for food. Bloom even began to cry a little bit. Pippi put the suitcase neatly back on the wardrobe. Then she turned to her prisoners. Can either of you dance the Shotska? She asked. Why, yes, said Thunder Carlson. I guess we both can. Oh, what fun! Cried Pippi, clapping her hands. Can't we dance a little? I've just learned, you know. Well, certainly, by all means, said Thunder Carlson, a bit confused. Pippi took some large scissors and cut the ropes that bound her guests. But we don't have any music, she said in a worried voice. Then she had an idea. Can't you blow on a comb? She asked to Bloom. And I'll dance with him. She pointed to Thunder Carlson. Oh, yes, Bloom could blow on a comb all right, and blow he did so that you could hear it all through the house. Mr. Nielsen sat up in bed, wide awake, just in time to see Pippi whirling around with Thunder Carlson. She was dead serious and danced as if her life depended on it. Here's the picture. At last, Bloom said he couldn't blow on the comb any longer because it tickled his mouth unmercifully. And Thunder Carlson, who had tramped the roads all day, began to feel tired. Oh, please, just a little longer, begged Pippi, dancing on, and Bloom and Thunder Carlson could do nothing but continue. At 3 in the morning, Pippi said, I could keep on dancing until Thursday, but maybe you're tired and hungry. That was exactly what they were, although they hardly dared to say so. Pippi went to the pantry and took out bread and cheese and butter, ham and cold roast and milk, and they sat around the kitchen table, Bloom and Thunder Carlson and Pippi, and ate until they were almost four-cornered. Pippi poured a little milk into her ear. "That's good for earache," she said. "Poor thing, have you got an earache?" asked Bloom. "No," said Pippi, "but I might get one." Finally, the two tramps got up, thanked Pippi for the food, and begged to be allowed to say goodbye. "It was awfully jolly that you came. Do you really have to go so soon?" said Pippi regretfully. "Never have I seen anyone who could dance the way you do, my sugar pig," she said to Thunder Carlson. And to Bloom, "If you keep on practicing on the comb, you won't notice the tickling." As they were going out of the door, Pippi came running after them and gave them each a gold piece. "These you have earned honestly," she said. See you next time.